Welcome to Jack Journal. For the third straight season, the SDSU football team is moving on in the FCS playoffs. The second straight season, they do it on the road in the first round. SDSU wins 47-40 at Montana State. It was cold, it was snowing. Our producer, David Brown, was there.
It was a cold one, it was a snowy one, but in the end, it was a victorious one for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. They defeat the Montana State Bobcats in Bozeman 47-40 in the first round of the FCS playoffs. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Zach Zenner got the Jacks on the board quickly. This 45-yard touchdown came just 30 seconds into the game, and the Jacks were up 7-0.
And we thought that was going to be good for us, and really kind of washed to one side. I cut it back and was able to make, I don't know who it was. There's someone on the outside there. I was able to get a hand on him, get him off me, and then just run away from some guys.
After a Bobcat touchdown got them to within 7-6, Zenner scored once again, this time on a screen pass from Austin Sumner that covered 69 yards, 14-6 Jacks after one. In the second, Zenner recorded his third touchdown of the game, but a Montana State 2-minute drill pulled them to within 24-20 at halftime. The Bobcats took the lead early in the third quarter with a Chad Newell touchdown run, but they held that lead for only 38 seconds as Zenner scored his fourth touchdown of the day on a 60-yard run. It would be 31-26 SDSU into the fourth quarter when Connor Landberg scored his first career touchdown to make it 37-26. Next Montana State possession, Jack Sherlock strips Bobcat QB Dakota Prukop, and TJ Lally recovers the fumble for the only turnover of the game.
We needed that momentum big time, especially in their on their own 20-yard line. We knew one of us had to make a big play and step up and give them momentum back to the offense to put some more points on the board.
SDSU converted that fumble into a field goal to make it 40-26. A Bobcat touchdown cuts it to 40-32 before Zenner scores his fifth touchdown of the day on this 69-yard run. It's 47-32 SDSU with just 3 minutes to go. But the Bobcats go 40 yards on a 4th and 4, and that sets up Newell's fifth touchdown of the day, cutting it to 47-40 with just over a minute remaining. Montana State attempts the onside kick, but the ball eventually lands in the hands of Connor Landberg, and that would do it. The Jacks survive a wild one, 47-40 over the Bobcats. So with the victory, SDSU will head to Fargo to take on the three-time defending champion North Dakota State Bison. You know these players and these coaches want some potential revenge against NDSU. We'll preview that matchup a little bit later, but for now, I am David Brown reporting from Bozeman, Montana.
47-40 final. Zenner was incredible again, maybe even outdid himself in this game. 252 on the ground, 324 total yards, 5 touchdowns for Zenner. The Bobcats lived up to their reputation as an offensive powerhouse too, 462 yards for them, but the Jackrabbits roll up more than 500 again. Austin Sumner, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. In the last 3 games for Sumner, 1,010 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. So can he keep it up as the Jacks move on now to face North Dakota State in the second round? We will have much more on the showdown with the Bison coming up later. First, much more on Montana State, though. NCAA restrictions only let us use a limited number of highlights, but we've got all the big ones, and Coach Stig will take you through them next.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionato.com.
Well, the Jackrabbits put on another show in the snow in the win over Montana State. Here again is David Brown with head coach John Stiegelmeier.
The weather was a bit tough, and we go out, we don't talk about it, we prepare for it and so on, but it took its toll, I think, more than anything on our concentration during the game.
You had played in something similar against Western Illinois a couple weeks ago, but during this game it was snowing. Was there any difference, or were the guys kind of familiar with everything?
No, I think our guys get excited about snow. A couple of years ago we went to Youngstown State playing to get into the playoffs and started snowing, and our guys really got pumped about it. So I don't think the snow, I think just the pure cold had the biggest effect.
Well, let's get to the game and some specific storylines from the game. Big kickoff returns. The kickoff coverage on both sides wasn't exactly the greatest, but Trevor Wesley in particular had a couple big returns past midfield for you guys in the first half.
You know, we give credit to Zenner or the offensive line or whatever, but the momentum you get to start a game or a series or whatever with a big kickoff return, it's huge. And the guys on those units many times aren't guys that get to play a lot, so they're pumped. That translates back to the sidelines and having energy.
And those set up short drives. You had a couple 2-play drives, a couple 3-play drives. I know you've talked in the past on how a long drive can be just as demoralizing, but was it nice to sort of go quickly? You scored your first touchdown 30 seconds into the game.
We'll take points anytime, any way we get them. My deal is sometimes our team or any team can react and say, this is going to be easy. In tough conditions, you don't want that feeling. The other thing is, as I've alluded to before, march it down the field, beat them up, discourage them. That affects the whole opponent.
Zach Zenner, obviously another fantastic game. 5 touchdowns, 324 all-purpose yards. Are we just running out of superlatives for him?
He's a special player, and I make that he just uses every minute and everything out of every minute. And the thing Zach does not do is he doesn't let the weather ruin his focus. He doesn't let the footing ruin his focus. He doesn't make excuses. He goes out and does whatever he can.
Kicking game was a bit interesting. When they scored their first touchdown, I believe it was a botched hold, they missed it, and then they went for 2, and then at the end of the half, Cole Langer, when they scored that touchdown, Cole Langer blocked their extra point. They had no extra points during this game.
They didn't, and I'm going to credit our special teams guys. Our guys go out every day in the cold, in the wind, on the snow, and they kick for 10, 20, 30 minutes. In fact, I've told Ethan Sawyer to get out of here, right? It's too cold, and he kicks some more. And so I would credit our guys' commitment to the kicking game in that kind of weather.
Were you surprised that in the second half they just kept continuously going for 2? Were they demoralized that they couldn't get extra points for one reason or another?
Well, they didn't have faith in their kicker or their snapper or the holder. I don't know where it broke down, but they didn't have faith because I listened to their coach, the press conference, and that was the indication.
Now, you scored pretty quickly, but that also set up at the end of the half. They go into their 2-minute drill and they get some points on the board before the end of the half. Was that a little discouraging, or were you still encouraged because you had a 4-point lead?
No, I was disappointed. Our football team was disappointed. We just could not. This is an arrogant statement. We could not put them away. You get a 10-point lead, a 14-point lead, and they were able to battle back. And they just had a knack of making plays when they had to make them.
There was questions on who would start at quarterback for them. It did end up being Dakota Prukop, who hadn't played in a couple weeks with a knee injury. Did he seem himself, or did he seem not as mobile? What was your impression of him as the game started?
He wasn't near as mobile. His forte is quarterback power, and really his strength is the read option, where there's only going to be one guy left on the edge, and he's got the ability to make you miss. And I don't think he ran the play. He ran maybe one of those in the whole football game.
But in the end, at halftime, it is 24-20 SDSU. What was your message in the locker room?
Just go out and play and play your best football, win the next play. If we go out, we are ahead, we go out and win every play, do everything we can to win every play, we're going to win the football game.
24-20 Jacks at the half. Zenner really just getting started with 96 yards on the ground. Trevor Wesley had those 2 kick returns for 78 yards to set him up. Montana State was 3 out of 3 on 4th down conversions in the half, and all in all, pretty even through the first 30 minutes of the game. But second half coming up, Zenner goes nuts. Jacks take a 2-touchdown lead, and then they hang on to put this game on ice.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionauto.com.
Welcome back. The Jackrabbits lead Montana State 24-20 at halftime. There was all kinds of excitement and illegal activity going on in the second half. Here again is David Brown with Coach Stig.
Second half, they get the ball coming out. They march it right down the field. They take the lead. But you guys come immediately right back within a couple plays, and Zenner gets another big run.
Well, there's 2 things there. Again, we get a big play that's huge in the game. But, too often coaches say in the locker room, they're going to get the ball first, go out and stop them 3 and out. And what you do is paint. I mean, how often does that happen? It doesn't, so you paint, oh no, we didn't get it done. So I'm really proud of the way we responded after not having gotten it done.
And then the snow started to pick up in the third quarter. The offenses kind of slid to a halt there after Zenner had that big run for the rest of the third quarter.
Well, we had a scenario where I think they held us, they roughed the punter maybe, and then we got another chance and we had to punt again. And we didn't punt that much in the game, but we didn't get things going. I agree with that.
Get to the fourth quarter now. It's 31-26 Jacks. Connor Landberg, guys can step up every now and then. He hasn't had that many career highlights here at SDSU, but he makes 2 big plays on this drive in the fourth quarter. This catch where he eludes some tacklers, and then he gets a touchdown in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, huge. And I'm going to go back to, the second statement in the Jackrabbit way. Our philosophy is belief, and we believe in our players. And when we put them out there, we believe they can make the play. And obviously, Connor hasn't had a lot of reps, but he made some big plays.
That touchdown makes it 37-26 Jacks, and then you get the only turnover of the game. Jack Sherlock, who admitted in the press conference he broke his assignment to get the strip, but he gets the strip and TJ Lally recovers.
Yeah, big play by Jack. And Jack has had a lot of opportunities and hasn't probably had as many big plays as he wanted, and that was a huge one in that game.
Leads to a field goal, 40-26. They get a touchdown, but then Zenner comes back with another long run, 69 yards this time, to seemingly put the game away at that point.
Seemingly. In these series we're talking about, there were 7 fourth downs in that football game by Montana State. They got 6 of them. So some of these things we're talking about should not have happened. We need to stop them, and we didn't.
Yeah, Zenner scores the touchdown to make it 47-32, but as you said, they get into a 4th and 4 with about 2 minutes left, and there's this screen to Chad Newell, who also had 5 touchdowns in the game, and it seemed like he eluded everyone on your defense to get into the red zone.
I think all 11 guys touched him on that play, but he's a great player. He's a good player, and that footing was his kind of footing. Hard to tackle him because he's a big guy, but I was disappointed in that. That could have been we get the ball back because it was a 4th down play.
They eventually score to make it 47-40 with about a minute to go. They're, of course, going to go for the onside kick. And you mentioned before we started, Landberg had 3 big plays, not 2. He eventually recovers this onside kick. It slips around a little bit.
Well, Dallas Goddard recovers it and gets whacked. And I really thought he was down when he had the ball. He was sliding, gets whacked, ball comes up. They kind of flip it around. And Connor, through effort, really goes and gets the ball. And huge play in the game.
Then we go into your favorite formation, victory formation, and the Jacks come away with a 47-40 shootout victory in the snow. Was it, in the end, because of the win, was it as fun for you as it was maybe for the fans and people watching at home?
I don't like to be part of a team that gives up 40 points, so it wasn't fun, but I was so proud of our team, and we found a way to win. And again, big plays, drives, it doesn't matter, win the game.
Is Connor Landberg, as you mentioned earlier, an example, as you said, of the Jackrabbit way, where he's a guy who maybe isn't as well known as Zenners or the Winnickes or the Sumners or Schneiders, but when his name is called, he comes through.
He is, and we have a number of those type of players, and people don't know their names because they only get a few reps, but huge plays in those games. One
of the more exciting games I'm sure you've ever been a part of?
It was exciting. Tough, the whole deal. I mean, it was kind of like, the heavy snow there, and the crowd got excited about the snow and the footing and cleaning off. I mean, I've never been part of a game where you go out and shovel off an area for the kickers. That literally is illegal, but they were doing it, so we were doing it. I had to battle a gal for a shovel one time to go out and shovel, so it was a unique memory.
We saw you shoveling. We saw Siravaca shoveling for his own placement on a field goal.
Yeah, and again, the officials are not used to this. They were asked in the pregame conference Friday night, if there's weather conditions, snow removal, what are we going to do? And they had never been part of that, so they said, we'll have to check the rules.
Jacks win, Jacks win. Zach Zenner leads the FCS in rushing again right now with 1,886 yards, 114 away from 2,000 for the 3rd straight season for him. And that sets up an epic showdown in Fargo this weekend. Zenner's never been over 100 yards in any of the 5 games he has played against the Bison. We'll talk about that and the other big storylines in the SDSU-NDSU showdown coming up next.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionato.com.
Welcome back. There are 16 teams left in the FCS playoffs now. There are two Missouri Valley matchups coming up. Northern Iowa at Illinois State and SDSU at North Dakota State on Saturday. The Bison have won 6 in a row against the Jackrabbits. NDSU won 37-17 in Fargo on November 1st. So why is it going to be any different this time around? Here once again is Brownie with Coach Stig.
I'm looking forward to a game in the playoffs. Again, you know, a lot of teams have put their pads away and the coaches are out recruiting, and I'm blessed and we're blessed to be able to coach and compete. And this is where we've stopped the last 2 years in the second round, not necessarily in Fargo, but in the second round. And so we've talked a lot about this is a participation medal, and that means you failed in the end. You didn't get to the true prize. So we want to go up there and play our best football.
Of course, the last time you guys lost was in Fargo about a month ago as Austin Sumner's return from his broken foot. Do you feel you learned enough from that game to where you are positive heading into this one?
Well, there's going to be a totally different game. You know, I mean, that's our job as coaches, to use different formations, different plays. They'll defend them differently. They'll do the same thing. What did we learn? We learned that a first down, you can't give them 7 yards when they're in heavy personnel. You got to slow that down. You got to control the quarterback running game, and then just be patient on offense because they are good on defense. So are we. Be patient and get the yards when you can get them.
How much are you studying the Northern Iowa game, since they obviously were the team to defeat them this year?
Probably more their defense against North Dakota State's offense, because of you can't take and create the same plays. And so probably, and the bottom line is you watch it, a lot of just out effort, just out physical North Dakota State.
But you feel this team is a lot better than the one that was in Fargo a month ago?
I feel we're better, we're more confident. Why? Because Austin Sumner is that many more weeks down the road, and we've kind of fed off him. Look what our offense has done since that game. Now we got to create some confidence up there too. You can walk onto a field, and if things don't go well, you got to battle. You got to handle the adversity.
It was a 3-point game until some turnovers in their own red zone sort of let the score indicate it wasn't as close as maybe the score indicated. But does the fact that you were so close with Sumner, not necessarily at 100%, does that give you confidence knowing that, you know, we hung with these guys pretty much for 3.5 quarters?
It does give us confidence. We were ahead at halftime. You know, I think the one thing that is in the back of all our heads is, are we going to be able to run the football? Because their defense is predicated on stopping the run, and we've got one of the best running backs in America. And so if we're able to do that, I think we're going to have huge energy up there.
Since that game, you've only given up 3 sacks, but in that game, Kyle Emanuel, their defensive lineman, had 4 himself. Does the offensive line need to key on him, or is it just in general you need to stop their defensive line?
We need to pass block better than we did up there. And again, Austin Sumner was not mobile, and so where he stood was where he was going to be. And so that helps up to be able to step up, maybe roll out a little bit. But there's no doubt Emmanuel's a really good football player, and we've got to be ready for where he's at.
Well, just this week, Kyle Emanuel of North Dakota State was named the Missouri Valley Defensive Player of the Year. Jack's wide receiver Jake Winicky is the Valley Freshman of the Year. And Marshawn Koprich of Illinois State beat out Zach Zenner for the Offensive Player of the Year this year. All right, but Zenner, Winicky, and Trevor Greger on the offensive line for the Jacks, those 3 all earned first-team all-conference honors this year for South Dakota State. Up next, our rapid-fire interview with the man from Millbank, South Dakota, Nick Mears.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Jackrabbit defensive back Nick Mears had 8 tackles in that win over Montana State. He is second on the team in tackles right now, and he is in this week's rapid fire interview.
Why are you number 42?
I'm number 42 because Ronnie Lott's one of my favorite players. I used to love watching like his highlights and stuff. I still do, and because I'm a big Niners fan, so that's kind of why I chose 42.
So you were waiting for R.C. Kilgore to graduate last year so you could snag it up, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but I loved R.C. I'd love to still have him around. He's a good guy. So.
What's your favorite part of Millbank?
My favorite part of Millbank, it's probably not even part of Millbank, but Big Stone Lake. It's about 10 miles from there, so I love going down to the lake. That's where we live on, so it's fun.
Among the safeties on the team, who would win a 100-meter race?
There's some speculation, but probably Melvin Tavares. He's pretty quick out there, so.
Wouldn't even say yourself.
I'm not dumb.
Do you miss playing quarterback at all?
I miss scoring touchdowns for sure. I really miss that, so I'm trying to get one. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I miss is scoring touchdowns. But being a safety back there, it's kind of like being the quarterback of the defense almost too, so that's still fun.
Obviously, Coughlin Alumni is your favorite place to play. What's the best road atmosphere you've ever encountered?
The best road atmosphere is probably either the Fargo Dome or the UNI Dome, just because it gets so loud in there. The fans really get after it, so it's fun to play in an environment like that where the fans are rowdy and against you for sure. So.
What is your favorite Coach Stiegelmeier catchphrase?
Oh man, this sounds so cliche, but I love when he says just, last play when we break down on that before the game. I mean, just commitment to your team and yourself.
So you enjoy each play like it's your last?
Yeah, I really love that.
What is the last movie you saw in theaters?
The last movie I saw in theaters was the one with Brad Pitt and the tank crew, that Fury.
How was that for you?
I love that movie. It was good. I'd watch that again for sure.
Do you have a pregame ritual?
I do not have a pregame ritual. I'm not a very superstitious person, so I know some people are, like they like to do things a certain way, but it's not a big deal to me. So.
Where is the best food on campus?
On campus? Oh man, that's tough.
Do you even eat on campus?
I don't eat on campus a whole lot, but when I do, I don't mind Chick-fil-A, or Panda Express isn't bad either, but that's...
Pick one, Chick-fil-A or Panda Express?
I'd go Panda Express on that one.
All right, last question. Who's the best prankster on the team?
Best prankster? I know last year that Dallas Brown and Charles Elmore got Oslo Blonde's pretty good with a little poster, so that was actually pretty funny. That's probably the best prank I've seen. So. And
they're still on the team, obviously.
Yeah.
Elmore's hurt, but
yeah.
do they still get after? Are you weary of them a little bit?
I'm not really weary of them because I mean I try not to do anything to get weary of, so you don't want to be like that weird guy who, something sticks out about you. So otherwise they'll get you. So.
Perfect. Nick Mears, thanks for playing Rabbit Fire.
Thank you.
Thanks to Nick Mears. Thanks to Coach Stig. Jacks at NDSU, 2:30 this Saturday. We'll see you next week.